Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video, I wanted to talk about natal Saturn in the first house. So, starting my Saturn through the natal houses series. So, this position of Saturn does tend to be quite difficult, especially early on in life. It's one of those placements that really shows a hard life, and likely a very hard childhood as well. A lot of the books say that Saturn in the first or Saturn close to the ascendant shows that the birth was especially difficult. And I mean, I think all births can be difficult, but with Saturn in the first, it could show that there was even a threat to the safety of the child or the mother. Sorry, I'm just getting over a cough. So yeah, it's definitely one that shows that one's personality is overwhelmed by Saturnian difficulty, and sometimes pessimism can be a really big characteristic of the personality. There's a lot of repression with Saturn in the first house. Now, there's also a lot of potential for like the slow climb to the top of one's field and the slow overcoming of challenges through patience, through effort, through hard work. So there definitely is not a resistance to hard work when we have Saturn in the first. This is one of the benefits, as is that you're probably one of the most extremely hardworking, dedicated people around. Now, a lot of that is going to be coming from this persistent feeling of inadequacy or ineptness, of dealing with life. So there's a lot of insecurity and difficult messages being broadcasted from the unconscious, likely from the upbringing, right? With Saturn in the first, it's quite likely that there was no time to be a kid. We could have been like forced to work at a young age or forced to even take care of a parent or a sibling, or there was some sort of catastrophe or something in the childhood that prevented us from being able to actually just like express ourselves, because there was like duties and obligations to be dealt with Saturn in the first. So it's definitely a personality that like shows that the first instinct is like to focus on responsibility and duty, and like, what do I need to do today? How do I improve myself? Like, how do I become better? And like, so there's a lot more thinking in some cases than like spontaneity. And that's where Saturn and Aries also, but Saturn in the first house can really show that we have difficulty like being on the spot. And there can actually be a lot of like social anxiety or shyness with this placement because of the repression that we feel. So we repress our natural instincts with this placement a lot, because it's like there's more important things to be doing. So the first house also rules the physical body. And it's quite likely that there's something about the Saturn in the first house person's physical body that is like an ailment. Like they have this like perpetual like problem with like some part of the physical body. This might sound bad, but sometimes you'll notice like people with Saturn in the first, or even Pluto in the first, could be not what society would consider to be beauty, right? So you could definitely have people who just have a very interesting look about them, or something like that's very obvious, like it could be like a big scar on their face or something like that, and something that kind of definitely can make them feel insecure about their physical body, because there could even actually be like something glaringly obvious about their physical body that is different or setting them apart from others. Because see, that's the thing that Saturn does, is like, while Venus is like an energy that moves us toward people, Saturn is like a separative energy. So people with Saturn in the first house have something even about their physical appearance that they could actually feel like it's like Beauty and the Beast, like they're like the beast, and they could actually feel like that. And that could be like a complex that they have to like work on, but it could actually be something that other people see as well, is like, oh, that person has a weird look about them, or it's not like a physically, classically like attractive physical appearance. And that can be something that is really hard for them to deal with as well. And, a part of like what I believe is like, and I don't know if you guys believe this, but this is something that I've found is like the thoughts that you think about yourself, like especially if they're repetitive and like over and over again, it creates like your energy field. So like if the Saturn in the first house person like perpetually feels ugly, it ends up like actually making them uglier, and whereas like someone like if you think like beautiful thoughts about yourself, like obviously there's genetic things, and like there is like people like that physically look a certain way, but like it does seem to be like the Saturn in the first house person's thoughts about themselves and anxieties and fears and like feelings of separation and isolation seems to sometimes manifest that as well, like even more so than it has to be. Whereas like cultivating beautiful thoughts about ourselves, self-love, self-worth, this can change our reality. So there's something going on with the physical body likely, but what can actually end up happening too is like, because of this insecurity and because of this like deep inadequacy, these are the people that can become like the gym bros, or like the like super physically conscious like athletes, right? Because this is something where we feel inadequate, we feel less than. We've got Saturn's voice, breathing down our neck, like you're not good enough physically. So that could actually produce, like in a healthy way, a preoccupation, but like, which can go both ways, but it could actually help you like be more physically fit, be more healthy, be more conscious of your appearance. They're very self-conscious. So, they can end up doing certain things, certain tweaks to like feel better and look better. And, it can end up being everything, every placement, even one as difficult as this, can end up being a gift. And that's really what it's meant to be. Like, that's how we're meant to use our natal birth chart, is to like master these challenges and become our higher self. So with Saturn in the first house, the challenges are to do with self and the physical body, and also expressing our energy out into the world, right? Like I said, there's a lot of repression and like an inability to like be totally authentic. And you can see the sign of the Saturn is going to be really obviously a big part of the personality. And it's going to be visible to others as well. People will see you as that sign, as like an embodiment of that sign. So even if it's a different sign than your ascendant or your sun or whatever, you really embody your Saturn sign a lot when you have this placement. So Saturn can also be the voice of a parent, likely the father. So we could have had a father with this placement that was extremely hardworking, or maybe cold, or not seeing our individual self, like seeing what they want to mold us into, but like not honoring our unique self and personality. I know that, or I'm pretty sure that my late husband had this placement of Saturn, and he actually died because of depression. So that's something to definitely look out for. But he used to tell me a story of his childhood, which was extremely difficult and challenging. But his father would say to him that friends aren't important to have. The only thing that's important is work. Like, friends are useless, there's no need for them. The only thing that matters is work and money. And, even if we didn't have a parent directly saying that, there can be an energy of that with Saturn in the first house. And like on some level too, that inner voice can really be isolating, because it is kind of like with Saturn here that we're really focused on like these duties or these responsibilities, which quite likely could be work or it could be financial things. And we do, maybe not consciously, but with this placement, exclude like fun and parties and friends and romance. And like you can definitely do a bit of that with this placement. Like, and it might not be like you're trying to do that. It could just be like you're drowning in work and you're drowning in responsibilities that you just don't simply have time for love. And maybe you feel too insecure for it, and you just don't really have time for friends because you're so busy with all these responsibilities and tasks that were burdened on you. And that's something you can feel like with this placement, is like you were literally born and like all this karma of your family line, your parents, it's just been put on you, and you're like carrying this like heavy weight. Like I'm imagining like, on your back it's like this huge like cement block, and you're just like having to carry this, right? Now it might feel like you have to do this. You have to keep these responsibilities and please other people and deal with all this crap all the time. When really the ultimate meaning and challenge of this placement is you have to stand up for yourself, and you have to learn a healthy level of selfishness. And because sometimes what can happen here is there's like a lot of repressed anger and repressed like I don't even want to say selfishness, because it's actually like the self that's repressed. Like the self is repressed in order to like create this persona that is like the dutiful one or the responsible one or whatever. And like what needs to happen is like you need to take that huge concrete block off your back and like bring back the true self, resurrect the true self, allow that self to be, and then decide what is truly important to you as a person without all of these duties and responsibilities, without what everybody else wants you to do. And stand up for yourself. Like this is your life. These goals that you're always going to have, this hard working work ethic that you're always going to have, it needs to be devoted to something that's giving you life and not, weighing you down. Because if you don't have a worthwhile goal that's meaningful to you and your actual self and personality, you're just going to feel so bogged down and so repressed. And then it can cause depression, or it can cause this physical health ailment and all these things. Whereas if you just decided to be you and remove the fears and blocks to being you, and you allowed your true self to be expressed, then you can choose, okay, what are the tasks I really want to devote to? What are the goals that I really have from myself, not other people, right? And yeah, it's not an easy task by any means, but that's one of the challenges of this placement, is like standing up for yourself. But then there's another manifestation of this energy. So there's actually an opposite energy of Saturn in the first, where it's like, because of the insecurity, you end up becoming like a super dominating personality where you're not going to be told anything by anyone, and you end up kind of being like the ruler. And then see, that's an opposite manifestation. So you don't want to turn into like the dictator. It's like having a healthy balance of authority within, right? Like where you're not just like stuffing your whole personality down in order to accomplish these tasks that you have to do, but at the same time you're not just like being so much you, and it's not even the real you. It's like you develop this over aggressive persona to just be heard, to just be seen, and it's like this like crusty Saturn authoritative personality. It's like, that's not you either. The real you doesn't have to plan how to act, doesn't have to plan what you're going to say, doesn't have to like plan the conflict and like like so that you're prepared, right? It's actually about developing more authenticity, more instinctiveness, more primal energy, right? The first house is the most primal sense of self. And, we have to free some of that with this placement. And choosing a worthwhile goal based on the sign of Saturn, because every sign of Saturn has a healthy manifestation and an unhealthy manifestation. So you want to really meditate on the sign of your Saturn and be like, okay, how can I turn this into a more healthier expression? Right? And, recognizing that you're always going to be the responsible one, that's not something you have to try to be. Right? So like you can let little bits of you out. You can let like yourself go to the party and socialize and have fun and have love and let people in. You can let yourself do all of that, and you're not going to lose that hardworking personality. Like you're not going to lose everything you've worked towards. You're not going to you don't have to keep this personality on guard to protect that. That can never be taken from you. You are, like I said, some of the most hardworking people around, and it's time for you to lighten up. And you may have to go back to childhood or even go back to birth in hypnosis or meditation, and give your inner child what your inner child needs in order to feel safe to be you. That's something I do in my healing sessions often, is going back to the inner child. You reparent that inner child. You give that inner child the love. You enclose it in this bubble of divine love. And doing some type of work like that can help you so much, just energetically be more you, who you need to be in this incarnation. And, change your life from being quite likely in the early life, it's been a series of challenging, difficult events. And you can change that to you're going to be really good at handling these hardships, these challenges that arise because you've already done so. But you can change the course and be okay, now I choose my happy life. Now I choose my life of purpose. And anchoring your true purpose, like I said, based on that Saturn sign, can really alleviate a lot of the pain, because a lot of the pain, a lot of the suffering is just repressing the true self. And whenever something gets repressed, it creates ailments. It creates all kinds of karmic problems. So by really allowing the true self out and the true purpose to be lived, yes, you're always going to be a serious person who has duties and you're focused. You're not the most lighthearted, bubbly personality, and you don't have to try to be that. But you do need to, let the real you out to play, and let your personal creativity out to play. And don't worry about being judged or whatever. It's not about what other people think of what you're doing. It's about letting that primal impulse of you out into the world and to be here to bless us with. You are a blessing. You are not a burden. You're a blessing to the world, to the people close to you. And it's not the person that you make yourself to be so that you think everybody likes you and thinks you're a good, hardworking person. It's the person that you actually are. You are a good person. You are a blessing to the world. You are perfect as you are. You are beautiful. And it's just about allowing more of the real you out. So I'd love to hear your experience of this placement. I'm sending you all the love. Love you guys. And so looking forward to going through all the Saturns. Actually, I have done Saturn in the 12th house. That's my natal placement. I did it years ago. I've done that placement. Probably 8 years ago. So I have a video on that, but I'll slowly here continue the rest of the natal Saturns. So love you guys. Thank you for watching. Talk soon. Bye.